We have it all. Nvidia's entire next-gen super lineup just leaked. We've got performance, pricing, specs, and more. And let's just say, AMD may need to worry. But before I get to that, Windows users beware, and Nvidia has completely overtaken AMD. Welcome everyone to Gamer Melt. It's another day, and that means another problem with Windows. This time, it's all thanks to an update made to fix a security issue. As you can see right down here, it says Microsoft states that the August security update meant to protect users from a privilege escalation vulnerability is now causing unexpected UAC prompts to occur for non-admin users. Basically, a UAC prompt is requiring administrative privileges. And where this happens, you can see right here Microsoft shared scenarios in which this issue arises, and it's a lot. Like running Microsoft's installer repair commands, launching Autodesk applications, installing apps that configure themselves per user, running Windows installer during active setup, deploying packages with config manager, basically a ton of stuff. What this means is that for a lot of people, if you want to install an app, you have to give it administrative privileges. If you want to do very basic stuff that definitely didn't require this in the past, you do require it now. And of course, if you're someone who maybe doesn't have administrative privileges, if you're, in an office setting, although a lot of times you don't want to do things like install apps, you typically need administrative privileges to do that anyway. But even if you're just at home and there's multiple users on the computer and you're not an administrative user, you can't do very basic things. I have no idea how Microsoft let this get past them without them noticing this at all, and especially given the fact that it was made to fix another issue. I mean, it does make perfect sense how this happened, because this specifically, you can actually see it right here, the issue involved an elevation of privilege vulnerability, specifically that exploited weak authentication capabilities in the Windows installer, and that allowed attackers to elevate user privileges locally. So it does sort of make sense how they're trying to fix this, and this caused this other issue, but I really just think Microsoft needs to hire actual programmers and stop using so much AI. Next up, while it's getting easier to find GPUs at MSRP, let's be honest, they're still way too high. So what if you don't even want to pay that? Well, that's where today's sponsor comes in. Jawa, the premier online marketplace made specifically to put PC parts into the hands of gamers at a great price. Whether that's CPUs, memory, motherboards, and yes, even GPUs. Like this Sapphire Nitro 7900 GRE for just $520, or this Founders Edition 3070 Ti for $295. Now, if that's still too much for you, no worries, because Jawa has a trade-in program where you can get money for your old CPU or GPU to help you get the upgrade. If you're more looking for a fully built PC because you're not into building it yourself, I definitely understand that. Luckily, Jawa also has a ton of pre-built gaming PCs from boutique sellers. I'm talking tons of models at every price point, so you can get exactly what you're looking for, and they really have some nice looking ones. At the end of the day, Jawa was built by gamers for gamers, which is exactly what we need more of. So visit them down in the description below. And next up for today, Nvidia just became essentially a monopoly in the discrete GPU market. That's right, the analyst firm John Petty Research just dropped their quarterly report that goes over add-in board card shipments, meaning discrete GPUs like gaming cards. And while there is some good news, like the fact that graphics card shipments saw an increase of 27%, which is of course a good thing for the market as a whole, but as we look right down here, you can see that the total AIB share among Nvidia, Intel, and AMD. And it's bad, because Nvidia actually gained a 2% share from Q1 of this year to Q2. Now, that may not sound like much, but this means that AMD went from 8% to just 6% market share. And Intel has such a small market that they don't even register here. Like, it's not even 1%. Now, if we go back to Q2 of last year, you can see that AMD had a decent 12% market share. So in just 1 year, the company's share of the market was dropped in half. And quite a few people have wondered why. Well, I'll tell you exactly why. For one, Nvidia simply has far more models at different price points. AMD just didn't go all out with their RX 9000 this year. But also, if you remember when AMD launched their 9070 XT and everyone was really excited because it was a great card for just $600. Remember that? Well, when we actually look at the pricing right now, which is many months later of course, there are quite a few cards, but they're all starting at least $700. During that time, I actually covered a story about AMD giving rebates out to get the cards to their MSRP. They had to do this because originally AMD didn't plan to sell these at such a good price, so they were forced to give these rebates out so partners could actually sell them at that new designated MSRP. The issue is that they only did this for their MSRP models, not the non-MSRP models, which is why you saw a big price difference between MSRP and non-MSRP cards. And while I can't say for sure, it definitely looks like AMD has stopped the rebates or board partners just don't care and they're selling them for an inflated price, which obviously wouldn't be too smart given the market share difference. At the end of the day, Nvidia effectively has a monopoly at this point. And lastly for today, we've got it all. Pricing, info, performance, release, and more for Nvidia's RTX 5000 Super GPUs. Now, while I've covered some of this information from a few different leakers in the past, Moore's Law is Dead puts it all together and includes some new info that he has. So starting things off, we have the RTX 5080 Super. And as you can see, it's set to be priced between $999 and $1199. Now, I will say that it's more than likely going to be the lower end of these if I were to guess, but there could be a reason why it does the higher priced one, but I'll get to that in just a second. Either way, as you can see, the 5080 Super comes with 24 gigabytes of memory, which is of course fantastic. The more memory, the better, especially if they can keep it at the same price. Then, as you can see, it comes with the same amount of CUDA cores, but it also is set to come, at least according to this, with faster memory. We're talking 32 plus gigabits per second, which is a bit faster, but it could actually get even faster, but I'll get to that part in just a second. And we're talking 415 watt TGP. And according to this, we are looking at between 9 and 16% performance uplift over the regular RTX 5080. So definitely a fairly decent boost in performance. Moving on, we have the 5070 Ti Super, and this one also comes with more memory at 24 gigabytes and the same amount of CUDA cores, but it doesn't get a boost in memory speed, but of course still we are talking 24 gigabytes, and it comes with a TGP of 350 watts. And this one, we're looking at between 7 and 11% performance uplift, which of course really is nothing to scoff at. As far as price, this one we're looking at either between $749 and $799. Of course, I'm definitely hoping it's going to be on the lower end of this, but it isn't too much of a price jump. Really anything at this point I would say would not be good for Nvidia. I definitely think that they're more than likely going to be at the lower end of this price point, especially because of how poorly the RTX 5000 series was received. Not to mention the fact that they did keep the pricing the same, at least for most of their 4000 series supercards. I would definitely expect this to happen again. Finally, we have the RTX 5070 Super, and this one is getting more memory as well, up to 18 gigabytes. But it doesn't stop there because while yes, it does have the same memory speed, it's actually getting a boost in core count. And this one at the end of the day has a 270 watt TGP, and we're looking at between 8 and 12% performance uplift. And if this is right, it will likely put it around the performance of the 9070 non-XT. And if Nvidia releases this for $549 and actually sells it for that, it would decimate AMD's 9000 series. Going back to the pricing, the 9070 non-XT is already above MSRP. So the 5070 Super would be cheaper, it would have more memory, and it would of course get all of the Nvidia exclusive tech. So this would really be a no-brainer. And where the 9070 XT is priced at, the 5070 Ti would also more or less crush it there as well. ultimately things would be really bad for AMD. But the news doesn't stop there. You can see down here that it says probably the most exciting thing that I was told is that Nvidia plans to EOL or end of life the RTX 5080 and 5070 Ti in October. And that right there really tells me that these are almost certainly going to be the exact same price, because they would only end production of these cards if they have a perfect direct replacement. And if they're going to be quite a bit more expensive, they likely wouldn't do that because they could still offer the lower end card. Not only that, but you can see that it directly points to Nvidia wanting to offer more than 16 gigabytes consistently above the $550 price level. Now, when it comes to the release, you can see that it says the 5080 Super, 5070 Ti Super, and 5070 Super are set to launch Q4. But here's the wild part. Although there is a chance the RTX 5080 Super doesn't launch until Q1 2026, so it can get 36 gigabit per second GDDR7, meaning blazing fast memory. And that right there might be the reason why we could really be looking at around $1,200. But if they do launch it on time, and if they really do end of life the regular RTX 5080, I still don't really see them pricing it above that. Maybe though. This is of course Nvidia we're talking about here. At the end of the day, Nvidia's next-gen supercards are looking very nice. So while that does it for today, are you excited for next-gen super GPUs? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. And as always, have a great day.